Running a small business or side hustle means keeping track of every dollar that comes in and out. But if you're still spending hours figuring out your profit or which products sell best, you're doing it the hard way. In this video, I'll show you how to turn a simple bank statement and your point of sale data into a fully automated profit and loss dashboard. No complex setup, no manual formulas, just paste or import in your latest transactions and Excel updates your profit by month, expenses by category, and product sales. You can grab the free template from the link in the description or pinned comment, but first I'll walk you through how it works so you can customize it to your needs. And at the end, I'll show you how to update it with one click, so stick around for that. Okay, let's start with the bank transactions. Here I've got the transactions from my bank account with deposits from EFTPOS, Stripe, Cash, and PayPal, as well as expenses entered as negative amounts. Then if I scroll down, I've got my credit card transactions, and you can see I pay most of my expenses on the credit card. I'm going to start by formatting the data in an Excel table. You can either use the keyboard shortcut, Control-T, or on the Home tab, you can format as table and choose a color at the same time. I'm going to go with this green style in keeping with my theme. It's detected that my table has headers. Click OK, and you can see I've now got the Table Design tab. And in the top left, I'm going to rename this table Transactions. Next, I need to classify the transactions into categories and subcategories. And for that, I have a lookup table, and you can see it's called Rules. It contains a list of keywords that I'll find in the bank transaction descriptions. Each keyword corresponds to a category, for example, cost of goods sold, expenses, and income. And they map into subcategories. I'm going to use these categories to group and summarize my bank transactions. So back in my bank transactions, I'm going to add columns for category and subcategory. And then I can use a formula to check if the description contains any of the keywords in my lookup table. We can use the search function to look at my rules lookup table keywords and check if any of those keywords appear in this description. If they do, search will return a number, that is the position of the first match, or the value error if not. Now I need to wrap search in the isNumber function, which will convert the results to true or false. True if the keyword was found and false if not. Then I'm going to use XLOOKUP to find the first true result in that list. So my lookup array is my isNumber search formula. Then I'm going to return, back in the lookup table, the category. If no true is found, that is there's no keyword match, then let's just return the text uncategorized. Close XLOOKUP, press enter, and because it's in a table, it automatically copies the formula down, and you can see each of my transactions is classified as an income or an expense. And if we scroll down a bit further, we can see we've also got some cost of goods sold. All we need to do now is copy that formula. I'm going to just go into the formula bar, Control-C, and then paste it in for the subcategory. And here, instead of returning category, we're going to return the subcategory. Tab to insert it, press enter, and again, it copies down automatically because our data is in a table. Next, I need a column for the period so that we can group our data by months. You can see we've got date level of detail here. I'm going to insert the period to the left, so I'm going to insert a table column to the left, and it's going to be called period. And for this, we're going to use the end of month or EO month function to take the date, and then EO month wants to know how many months do I want to move forward or back before finding the end of the month. Well, I want to just find the end of the current month, so we want to 0 months. Close EO month, press enter. It copies down. Let's format that as a short date, and then we have our month end dates for each transaction. And that's it. Next month, come June, I simply add the new data to the bottom of the table, and these formulas will automatically copy down. And if any return uncategorized, I just go back to my lookup table and add the keyword, category, and subcategory to my table, and it will automatically feed back through to my transactions. Right, now I can build my pivot table profit and loss report from these bank transactions. On the Insert tab, Pivot Table, we can put it on a new worksheet, but I've already set up a worksheet called Analysis, so I'm just going to pop it in there and click OK. Let's drag the field list over closer And here I want the period going across my columns. Now when you drag a date field into a pivot table, it automatically groups them by month, day, and year if you have multiple years. I don't want them grouped, so I'm going to Ctrl Z to undo that grouping. Next, I want the category and the subcategory in my rows, and I'm going to summarize the amount in my values area. Okay, that's my pivot table built. Let's do some formatting. I'll start by formatting the dates up here. So I'm going to right click and go into the field settings. And here at the bottom, we've got number format. And in here, I want a custom date format. So instead of day, month, year, I'm just going to show the month hyphen year. Click OK and OK. And you'll see all the dates are now formatted accordingly. Next, I'm going to go to the Design tab for the pivot table. And we're going to add subtotals at the bottom. And I'm going to remove all grand totals so that they're only on for rows. And let's insert a blank line after each item just to make it a bit easier to read. Now you can see the order of the data is alphabetical, so we've got cost of goods sold, then expenses, then income. But in the P&L, we want the income first, so let's left click and drag that to the top so they're in the correct order. Next, I need a subtotal for my net profit and for my gross profit. And we can do that with a calculated item. So with one of the category cells in the pivot table selected, on the pivot table analyze tab, we want fields, items and sets, and then we want calculated item. Let's bring it over closer. So we'll start with gross profit or loss. And then the formula, I'll delete the 0. So we'll take income. Now because my cost of goods sold and my expenses are already negatives, I want to add the cost of goods sold. Click add. And then let's repeat for net profit. That's going to be income plus cost of goods sold plus we want a category that is expense. So double click to insert it, click add, and now all I need to do is click OK. Those two calculated items have been added to my pivot table and we can see them at the bottom here. So now I can use the collapse buttons to collapse them down into a single row. And let's drag the gross profit up underneath cost of goods sold. So our income minus cost of goods gives us our gross profit. And then minus expenses gives us our net profit or loss. All right, let's do some tidying up now. I'll start by going to the Design tab. I'm going to change the report layout to show it in a compact form. That's just going to consolidate the category and subcategory columns into one. Let's also go up here and we'll change the formatting to make it a bit more subtle. This white pivot style in light green will do nicely with my theme. And then back on the pivot table analyze tab, we're going to turn the field headers off and we don't need the expand or collapse buttons anymore. Let's also change this sum of amount field to profit and loss. And as I change that, notice in the field list, the value field, instead of saying amount, now says profit and loss in line with what I've entered up here. Let's do one more thing and we'll add our subtotals at the bottom of the group. Okay, that looks great, but let's add a chart to help visualize this data. So for that, I'm going to copy this pivot table, Control C to copy, and then over here, I'm going to Control V to paste it in. Now this pivot table doesn't need the dates broken out, so we're going to drag the period field out so that I just have the total profit and loss. And from here, I can insert, and I want a 2D bar chart. Right, it's a bit squashed, so let's make it a bit bigger. It can cover up the actual pivot table. We don't need to see it. And I'll just do a bit of tidying up. We'll start by right-clicking on these fill buttons and hide them all because they just take up loads of space and we don't need them. That's better immediately. Let's also get rid of the grid lines and the legend. We only have one series in here, so we don't need a legend. And under the axes, I'm going to get rid of the primary horizontal axis because I'm going to add data labels. So let's do that. We can see that data labels are overlapping the axis labels, so let's fix that. With the axis selected, Control 1 to open the formatting pane. Let's close the field list because we don't need that right now. Under the axis options, I'm going to change the categories and put them in reverse order. You can see at the moment, net profit and loss is at the top and income is at the bottom. Let's reverse those so that it's in line with the actual profit and loss. Next, we want to move the labels so that they are positioned low. That'll just move them away from the axis. And let's go into these bars and make them a bit wider. We'll make them 50% gap width. While I'm here, we'll go to the Design tab and we'll change the color to these shades of green in keeping with my theme. Alright, that looks pretty good, but notice my numbers all have decimal places and it's looking a bit cluttered. So let's just go in here. I'm going to change the number format on this one to no decimal places. And I need to do the same for the pivot table behind here, which feeds my chart. So number format, no decimal places. Alright, that's better. One more thing I want to do is go into the border for the chart and change it to rounded corners just to give it a more modern look. And we'll change this chart title to say profit and loss. And I'm going to move it across to the left just to give it a more modern touch. And with that, you have your financial position at a glance and in a timely manner. And updating it's super easy, which I'll cover at the end. But first, if we want to grow the business, we need to identify our top performing and underperforming products. For this, you can download the sales transactions from your shopping cart or point of sale system. You can see mine here includes the date of the transaction, the receipt ID and deposit ID. Now the receipt ID is the individual customer transaction. So you can see this customer bought 3 items, this one bought 1 and this one bought 1. And these transactions are then bundled together into one deposit. You can see these were all deposited together into the bank account. Next we have the item, category, quantity, unit price, gross amount, payment method, merchant fee. That's the fee PayPal, Stripe or your merchant gateway deducts from the sale amount. And finally the net amount you receive into your bank. Now to make the data easy to work with, I'm going to format it in a table using the keyboard shortcut Ctrl-T. It's detected my table has headers. Click OK. And it puts in the default style. You can change it up here in the style gallery if you like. And let's give this table a new name. We'll call it sales items. Now for consistency with the bank transactions table, I'm going to insert a column to the left for the period. And again, we'll use the end of month function to take the date and find the last day of that month. Press enter, copies it down. It doesn't realize it's a date. So let's go to the home tab and change the format to short date. There we go. So with that done, I can insert a pivot table based on this data. I'm going to pop it on the same analysis sheet just below the profit and loss pivot table. Just note that if you have more subcategories in your profit and loss report, you're going to need to insert some rows above the next pivot table just to allow for the top one to fill the space. I'm confident my subcategories aren't going to change, so I'm fine with it there. Click OK. Let's drag the field list over closer. And for this pivot table, again, we want the period across the columns, but it's grouped it. Ctrl-Z to reverse that. Then I want the category and the item in the rows. And I'm going to summarize the net amount. That is the amount less the fees. Let's right click and go into number format and change this to no decimal places in keeping with our profit and loss. Let's also format in the field settings the date, so number format at the bottom. Here I want a custom date, so instead of day, month, year, I just want month followed by year. Click OK and OK. Let's also go up to the design tab and we're going to change the report layout to compact form in keeping with the pivot table above. So now you can see that the month columns line up. Let's change the color to the same green. We also want the subtotals at the bottom of the group. We want to add blank rows after each item. And then on the Pivot Table Analyze tab, we can turn off the field headers and the expand and collapse buttons. We don't need those. Let's change this to sales by product. And notice it's also changed the value name in the pivot table field list. I'll also right click on the values and go into sort, and I want to sort largest to smallest. That's just going to bring our biggest selling items to the top of the list. All right, like we did before with the profit and loss, let's copy this pivot table and I'll paste it over here and we'll take out the period field and I'll insert a chart. So insert, we want the same 2D bar chart and we'll just spend a few minutes formatting it. Right click, hide all the field buttons, get rid of the grid lines and the legend, and we'll add data labels inside the end. They look a bit squashed right now, so let's give it a bit more space. We'll go to the design tab and we'll change the colors to the same greens. Let's grab these amounts here and we'll make them white so they stand out and are easier to read. I might make them a bit bigger and bold. So let's then Ctrl-1 with the bars selected and we'll change the gap width to 50, giving them more space. Now notice, again, we have the axis labels in the opposite order to our pivot table. So with the axis selected, go to the axis options and change it to categories in reverse order. So now they're in line with my pivot table. I don't need this horizontal axis, so let's go in and we'll turn it off. We'll give this chart a name, Sales by Product, and let's just left click and drag to the left hand side. While I'm here, I'll go into the formatting, and at the bottom, rounded corners, let's make it the same width as the profit and loss chart. And if I minimize my ribbon at the top and zoom out ever so slightly, we can now see the profit and loss and our sales by product in one dashboard at a glance. Now you've got a complete overview of your business profitability and product mix all in one place and ready to refresh with new data each month, which I'll cover next. But first, if you want to take it a step further, you can even automate bringing in your bank transactions and point of sale data into Excel using Power Query. I teach exactly how to do that inside my Power Query course, which, along with all my other courses, is 20% off during the Black Friday sale from November 20 to December 4 at myonlinetraininghub.com/courses. You'll find all the links in the description and pinned comment. In the meantime, when you get next month's data, for example, I've got some data here for June. Let me Control-C to copy it. All I need to do is go into my transactions table, go to the very bottom. On the next row, Control-V to paste, and notice my end of month formula copied down, as did my category and subcategory formulas. So this table is up to date. Let's do the same for the point of sale. So I'll go and grab my point of sale data, Control-C to copy, go to the point of sale transactions table, down to the bottom. On the very next row, Control-V to paste it in. The end of month formula copies down, and that data's all updated. So all I need to do to update this analysis is go back to the analysis page on the data tab of the ribbon, click refresh all, and if you keep an eye here, June's data will appear. And just like that, both my profit and loss, my sales by product, my charts have updated to include June's data with just one click. But if you have the latest version of Excel, you can even avoid that one click by setting the pivot tables to auto refresh. Now you've built a smart business tracker that handles income, expenses, profit, and insights automatically. But managing your business finances is only half the story. If you also want to get control of your personal money, the income and expenses outside your business, I've got another video that walks you through building a complete personal finance tracker in Excel. You'll learn how to track your own spending, categorize transactions, and create a dashboard that shows exactly where your money goes each month. I'll see you there.